Okay, I think we're back in business. Mr. Cohen, if you could restate for the record your, and we'll go back through that. Do we need to go back through the whole vote? Or just the motion?
I think probably let's just go to the motion, take the vote.
Okay, let's do that again. If you would.
Make the motion again?
Make the motion again. We'll go
Okay.
back through the vote.
Sure. Make the motion that we deny the applicant's request for a certificate of design approval at 117 Lincoln Street, based on the findings that the driveway is not in accordance with section 17-674F of the city ordinance, and any modifications or future alterations should be submitted to staff for approval prior to any work beginning.
Is there a second?
Second?
I assume no discussion since this is a replay. If we could have a vote, please.
Mr. Bucknight?
Yes.
Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. So you had a question, I think.
Yeah, question is, I think under the ordinance, it says delineated driveway. So what I would think is you got to delineate that 12-foot of a driveway on it. I guess you just mentioned it. Talk with
I would err on the side of prudence. If you're not quite sure, I would make sure with staff.
we'll just talk with staff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I get a copy of that, of the motion? Can I get a written copy of the motion?
Yeah, the minutes will all be on the record.
It'll be on the record for,
We'll have to have approved minutes.
Yeah.
Those will be approved, but we'll
Next-
copy-
next-
Yeah, we'll get those.
next month. All right.
Thank you. Next case, please.
So this next case is 2307 Wayne Street. This is a request for construction of a single-family, two-story, four-square style home on a vacant lot in the Elmwood Park Planned Unit Development, or PUD. While not a part of the Elmwood Park Architectural Conservation District, the PUD included a provision that requires that new buildings come before the DDRC for review under the guidelines that were in place when the PUD went into effect in 2006. Staff finds that the project is generally compliant with these guidelines and is recommending approval with several conditions. The first staff condition is addressed in the facade portion and proportion and rhythm guideline, which states that building form in Elmwood Park is generally straightforward and unfussy. The proposed new construction has a gable over the front porch, which is not found historically on any structure of this style in Elmwood Park. Staff recommends that this gable be removed to be consistent with the facade proportion and rhythm guideline. In addition, while the opening size and placement is generally consistent with historic examples, the openings on the right elevation are not, do not, as the guideline recommends, reflect the existing neighborhood. To be compatible with this guideline, staff recommends that the middle windows on the first and second story be centered on the elevation. Lastly, for the driveway, a material has not been provided, and staff recommends using either brick or concrete to be consistent with patterns in Elmwood Park. Staff finds that the new construction at 2307 Wayne Street generally complies with the pertinent guidelines from the standards for review of projects in DP districts that were utilized for review of projects within the Elmwood Park Architectural Conservation District at the time of the PUD's creation. Staff recommends granting a certificate of design approval with the following conditions. The gable on the roof of the front porch be removed, the middle windows on the left elevation be centered, driveway be brick or concrete, and all other details deferred to staff.
Thank you. I assume the applicant wishes to speak.
I do.
Could you state your name, please?
Wesley McManus. The only thing, it's a different style, and I do understand that, but I would like to at least vote or hear your opinion on the gable over the front porch. It adds just a little something to the house. And although they were slightly different styles, it was approved for two other houses I built on the same street, 2214 and 2218 Wayne Street. That's the one article of consideration. The other is with the rhythm of openings in the windows. This house is the exact house, except for it has a keeping room off of the kitchen, as 2225 Wayne Street, which was approved and built. So the window locations and everything else are the same, and it was approved before. That house is 8 houses up the street. It's on lot 1. This would be on lot 8. of the same street. So I don't really see the issue there. So I would like to keep the windows there and as they are, especially on the one elevation saying to center them up. They couldn't be because it's in a stairwell. The lower center window is in the den flanking the fireplace. The upper window actually is just a full-size window in the stairwell, and I would be perfectly fine and happy doing an accent window, which we had discussed prior in a meeting on, what was the date? Do you remember the date that you and I met? I think it was earlier, it was back in October, but we had talked about, and I was under the impression that we agreed that that upper window could be replaced with a rectangular or a diamond-shaped accent window that would be at about eye level above the landing to the center of the window in the middle of the stairwell. I have packets if you want to see the CDA and the approved design and window placements from 2225 that was approved. That was probably back in 2014, for everyone to see. But aside from that, the rest, I have no issues. The driveway will be concrete. Any other details deferred to staff. And I'm not going to fight you on the gable, but I would like to keep it if possible. So that's all I have to say there. Would you like to have the packets that show the CDA and the ones that match this?
Actually, that would be helpful if you don't mind.
And that's actually at the back. The first two pages are the 2214 and 2218, Wayne, and they just show the two other structures approved with a gable over the front porch. And the last two pages are the CDA for 2225, Wayne, which is this exact same house minus the keeping room off the kitchen.
What was the date on this?
It's on the packet, so let's see. That was actually approved in June of 13 for 2225. And then the 2214 and 2218 were approved in the latter part of 2017.
This image right here shows the staff recommendation of the windows being aligned. Is that what you were recommending for this?
That's what they
Yes.
were wanting to do, but that's actually over and in the stairwell. So you couldn't move that window over in any functional capacity to make them align.
So we've got this, I'm a little confused. We've got several different images. What was actually approved?
Go to the last two pages, you'll see
Okay.
a CDA and elevation sheet for 2225 Wayne Street. That was what was approved.
This was approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That is the exact same house and window configuration as this, except for in that we moved and had, I was just actually trying to put one up, a regular window up top, because I've had so many issues with the diamond windows, they never come right. But any other window there and in the stairwell would be perfectly fine for me, be it rectangular in shape or another diamond accent window.
So this one shows these two windows more centered in the
Which
elevation than this.
On the,
They're aligned in this picture,
which window?
the one you're directing us to.
The front window, the only, let's see, that is right side, and then what they want is right side, and then left.
It looks like the top elevation in what we're seeing on the screen
Yes.
corresponds to this elevation, right?
Yes, the left elevation there, the only thing is that upper window, which would be the middle window on the second floor on the left elevation. That is the one I was saying to replace and go by with another accent window as shown in the 2225 Wayne.
Well, I guess let me ask you this. Can you do this on that elevation? You can do this?
Yes.
Okay, because it's different from that.
Yes, just the house is flipped. Yes.
It should be on the
Yeah.
last
Very
page.
last page,
On the wrong page?
the very last page, yes. Should be the accent.
But these windows that were recommended, they're more aligned, aren't they, than what you have here?
No.
Yeah. I was on the wrong
The
page.
rear windows
Yeah.
on
That,
the elevation that's been handed to you, this last page here, are aligned.
Yeah.
The rear windows on, I think,
Yeah.
is that what you were
Yeah, I mean,
pointing out?
you were saying that it's the same, but this,
Yeah,
this is,
except for-
this what that was approved in, on the last page, the windows are aligned, and here they're not.
but it says middle windows be centered, and that's my issue.
Can you clarify which window would become an accent window?
The upstairs on the right elevation, or left elevation, second floor, middle window.
Okay.
Is there, okay, yeah, please. Which one?
Right there.
That one.
Yes,
That would become an accent window.
that would become that diamond window.
And then the one on the bottom left of the left elevation, what's keeping that from those left two being aligned
Well, that'd be in the middle of the fireplace.
on the
And then
bottom?
the other window is actually a window in a water closet in the master bath. Yes. Let's see, where are we?
Well, again, I would
This
ask,
window is the great room window. There's a fireplace directly in the middle between those two. And this, where is the light?
let me make sure, so that bottom elevation corresponds to this. Is that
Yes.
correct? And, is that right?
Let me make sure, because I can't really see it from there, but so. The bottom elevation, yes, to the middle one there.
Can you
That's
do
correct.
this?
Well, I can't do, with the back window or the rear window, I cannot stack that window. I could take it out or make it smaller, but I could not stack the rear window.
I'm just asking, if this was what was approved, can you just do this again?
Yes,
If it's
I can.
actually the same house?
Well, the only difference, but there was no mention of it in here, it says the middle window on the left elevation be centered. So there's no mention of the upper window you're referring to. So I wasn't talking, I was going to leave it as is and change that middle second floor window, drop down into that same diamond accent window as you see here.
All I'm asking is if that's true, if this is what was approved in 2015, I guess is what you're saying,
Yes,
this same body and many of the same people were in the room and it was approved, I don't see how we would be in a position, if you are willing to do that,
okay,
to not approve it this time.
that's fine.
We've
I'll just
already
change the
approved it
master
once.
bathroom back to the other. Well, I
So,
don't mean to be adverse in any means, so please don't take this that way. But the only thing they made mention of was that center window. And a
no,
lot-
I understand, but let's move on from that. And
Okay.
so I'm asking you if you can do that. You've done it once and it was approved. It's
I would
the
just have to
exact same
change the
house.
master bath layout to the other house layout, because
So the layout in this is not the same as the layout in that.
Right.
the shower and the tub are in a different location, but the rest of the house is identical. So, but they made no mention of that window, only centering the upper window.
No, I understand.
So, do you get what I'm? So to be clear, what I would be asking would be to get rid of the middle upper window and replace it with an accent window as pictured in 2225 Wayne's CDA.
As pictured where?
In the CDA, the one elevations you were just looking at.
This one?
Yes. Because that upper left
Okay.
window wasn't in question initially.
And because this configuration in this house is different from this, you wouldn't be able to align those two windows, is what you're saying?
Not unless I changed the bathroom to the same bathroom, master bathroom layout as,
Can you do that?
I can. Would you like
Are
me
we
to?
talking about the accent window here, or are we talking about those?
He's talking about the bathroom window.
What I'm trying to do, just to get to a solid decision, is since this was already approved, but the bathroom configuration was changed in this in order to accomplish this, if it can also be done in this, so that we're approving the same thing we approved last time, I don't see how we cannot not approve that. It's already been approved once.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking the question.
Okay.
Can we
I was just,
approve-
wasn't sure which one you were talking about. Sorry.
That's confusing me, so yeah. Okay,
Can we approve as is with that up middle window that's in question being dropped down into the same accent window?
I think that's a different discussion, but I think if you can do this, then I think we would be bound to approve it. If you
Okay.
could do what's already been approved.
All right, then let's move on to the next one.
Okay. Does anybody have a
When we
comment
do,
about the gable and any
Oh,
other
sorry.
comments, actually? Go ahead, whatever.
I think when we do the motion for this, are we talking about aligning this bottom window with this top window? Because I
Yeah,
don't feel like
we
we're
are.
clear on that.
We're talking about replicating the
The
the side elevation that was approved.
Okay,
We'll have to figure that out. Yes.
thank you.
Can we mark it up and, okay, yeah. Something that we can look at, marked up, so all can agree on this?
It's this,
Right, okay.
yeah.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
So it's in keeping with the window layout that was approved on Tuesday, June 25th, 2013?
Right.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So we can reference back to what was approved? Okay.
Okay.
And you're comfortable with that?
I have to change the bathroom to a less amicable master bath.
It's not built
but
yet.
I can do it, yes. Even though that window is never in question, yes, I can do it.
And with respect to the gable, could we go back and look at that, please? Yeah, I think the design, I mean, I'm just speaking as an architect, I think the design is stronger without the gable, but I don't know, actually, but I don't know what other applicants feel. To me, it seems out of scale with the basic massing of that facade, but I don't have a strong feeling about that. I don't know if other commissioners, I'm sorry, have any comments about that.
Favor of it if it was smaller, like basically.
No, I think they make it worse.
I think it's a less is more.
All right.
I agree. In other
Scratch
words,
the
looks
gable
better.
and
It
move
look-
to the next house.
Okay.
All right.
okay.
I think I know why you did this.
You good putting in a concrete driveway?
Pardon me?
Are you good putting in a concrete driveway?
Yes, there
All
are
right.
concrete.
Okay.
driveways, so
I think we may be ready for a motion.
we are.
Okay. I assume there's nobody here that wishes to speak for or against. I'm sure. Okay. You want to make a motion? Or Mr. Falconer?
Yes, I could try.
You had,
Where is it? Oh, wait, 2707? 2307. I move that we approve the certificate of design approval for 2307 Wayne Street in the Elmwood Park PUD with the following conditions: that the gable on the roof of the front porch be removed, that the window configuration match that of already pre-approved
the June 25th, 2013.
June 25th, 2013, 2225 Wayne Street window configuration. The driveway be brick or concrete, and all other details defer to staff.
Second.
Any discussion? We have a vote, please?
Mr. Bucknight?
Yes.
Mr. Broom?
Yes,
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Next case, please.
This next case is a request for a certificate of design approval for construction of a single-family, two-story Italianate influence home on a vacant lot in the Elmwood Park PUD. Staff finds that the project is generally compliant with these guidelines.
Could you speak up just a little?
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
And slow down and speak up a little bit? Thank you.
I'll start over then. This is a request for a certificate of design approval for construction of a single-family, two-story Italianate influence home on a vacant lot in the Elmwood Park PUD. Staff finds that the project is generally compliant with these guidelines
Just a little louder.
and is
Sorry.
recommending approval
Thank
with
you.
several conditions. The facade proportion and rhythm is generally consistent with the guideline, with this guideline, as a proposed structure reflects the form, proportion, and basic detailing of gable front and wing residences in Elmwood Park. Traditionally, these homes have a full-width front porch that are simple rectangular forms. However, the applicant has altered the basic form of the porch, creating a porch that is more complex than historic examples in the proposed design. The projecting gable over the entry stairs creates an inconsistency in the front plane of the porch, which is not consistent with historic examples in the district or this guideline. Staff recommends removing the gable and that the porch have a consistent front plane. In addition, the detailing of the structure is not consistent with historic examples. The proposed design features corbels, which staff has not been able to find on any historic examples within the district. Staff recommends that the corbels be removed in order to be consistent with this guideline. The guideline for opening, size, and placement states that the rhythm of windows and doors and structures should reflect that of the existing neighborhood. Construct new buildings so that the relationship of width to height of windows and doors and the rhythm of solids, walls to voids, doors, and window openings are visually compatible with historic buildings in the area. Avoid large expanses of blank walls on the front and side elevations visible to the street. While the proportion and rhythm of openings on the facade is generally consistent, the side elevations are not consistent with historic examples. On the left elevation, there is a large expanse of blank wall. As a result, staff recommends that an additional window be placed on the first floor close to the facade and in line with the window on the second floor. The right elevation will require more alteration to be consistent with this guideline. Staff was provided with a partial rendering of the right elevation, which includes several changes from the original plans. This rendering will be staff's focus as it comes closer to meeting this guideline. In addition to the changes made on this rendering, staff recommends that the windows on both stories closest to the facade move back several feet. In addition, the second windows back from the facade should align. The group windows towards the rear of the first story will be minimally visible due to a 6-foot privacy fence the applicant is proposing. While variation in size between windows on the first and second story is consistent with historic examples, all windows on a single story should be the same size, with the exception of accent windows, such as the triple windows featured on the changes. Staff finds that the new construction at 2313 Wayne Street generally complies with the pertinent guidelines for the standards of review of projects in DP districts that were utilized for review of projects within the Elmwood Park Architectural Conservation District at the time of the PUD's creation. Staff recommends granting a certificate of design approval with the following conditions. The gable on the roof of the front porch be removed and the front of the porch be on a single plane. The corbels be removed. An additional window be added to the first story of the left elevation to align with the front window on the second story. The rendering provided for the right elevation be used with the following changes. The windows on both stories closest to the facade move back several feet. The second windows back from the facade should align. All windows on a single story should be the same size with the exception of accent windows. The driveway be brick or concrete, and all other details deferred to staff.
Thank you. The applicant wish to speak?
Yes. I have one question for clarification. When you say accent windows, are you considering the triple window over the kitchen sink an accent window?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, that takes care of that issue. The other thing I would like to say is, did you pass those out? I've given her packets of other properties that have already been approved on the same street through the same design review board. And I'll go ahead and say, I do not want to change an elevation to one of these. However, each individual detail is used just to illustrate that the same exact thing has been done multiple times before, or at least once before. And I would like to use that precedence to approve the plans as is. If you look at the very first page, those are the elevations that were approved for 2301 Wayne Street, which is 2 houses down from here. When we're looking at it, you'll look at its right side elevation. That was approved, and as is with the windows that close to the front. So that takes care of that issue. The other with the segmented windows, not stacking in the middle. And the only huge difference is that double window on the back. But if I'm correct, it's my understanding that you guys are okay with the twin window on the rear? Okay, so they are, so that's not an issue. So in my opinion, and the fact that this elevation has been approved there and before with the same issues that are being brought up as non-contributing now, I would say that the elevation as is fine. That would be the motion I would go to. On the opposite elevation, which is on this house, is the left side elevation. The other examples in the small packet that I show you show a large expanse towards the front of the house.
Could we go to the corresponding elevation on the application? Okay, great.
But can you show them the one that we wanted to propose? Yes, ma'am, for the upstairs. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. It was the one that was in the packet of the image that I sent you. Is it up? Is it before that?
Yeah, it's in the
And what's the significance of this? What is this?
That would be the elevation that takes care of, we had agreed on everything except for the placement of the front windows.
So you're proposing this?
In that elevation, yes.
You're proposing this?
Which that was submitted, they had it, just for some reason it isn't in the packet up here online.
I'll pass it around. Let me just get my bearings.
But yeah.
Did you guys see it?
This one was previously approved?
No, sir, that's what we moved windows around with the draftsman
That's been previously.
and sent to, that's what I would like to do. The only issue with that actual window configuration is that in that configuration, the front windows at the front of the house aren't moved back a couple feet. However, in 2301, Wayne Street was approved with the windows in the same location as what I'm proposing.
Okay, so
Very similar
let me just,
elevation.
this all gets a little confusing. So what, you're proposing this, and the basic difference with this is that looking at the top elevation on the screen up there, the far right two windows, first and second floor, are eliminated. Is that right?
I believe so.
I think
I
that's
can't see
that's the difference, I think.
The far window on the right-hand side is.
Top and bottom.
Yes.
Bottom
Correct.
one changed.
And the bottom, and you're changing the bottom window.
That bottom window, the two bottom windows are changed to one twin window, as shown in that drawing.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is a double window?
It's
Like this-
shown as
You got
one.
the drawing shows the stuff in the room beyond, so it's
Oh,
not-
yeah, it's a twin window, yes, sir.
Okay. And part of the staff recommendation was to take these two windows that are furthest to the left and move them further to the right.
Yes, but it's been approved on another house in that same location, off the corner.
Is there a functional
Yeah,
challenge?
though, well, yes, because the upstairs is there in a bedroom, and then you would have at that point, you would have a window in the middle of the only bedwall, because you have the windows on the front of the house. And then downstairs, that's also another bedroom.
Can staff speak to why this was proposed I mean, we approved it, I'm assuming, but why that wasn't an issue on 2301 as far as it being in accordance with the guidelines?
I'm not sure why
We-
that recommendation wasn't made at that time, but
We may have not followed the staff recommendation completely. I don't really remember, but I do vaguely recall that there was a lot of discussion and compromise with, I think, if I've got the right house, I think I recall that.
Yeah, on
And-
that project, we left the front windows as is, and then we moved a couple other windows at the back of the house.
Could you read the part of the guidelines that indicates that the windows should not be so close to the front of the house on this facade?
the guideline is that the rhythm of windows and doors and structures should reflect that of the existing neighborhood. Construct new buildings so that the relationship of width to height of windows and doors and the rhythm of solids to voids are visually compatible with historic buildings in the area. Avoid large expanses of blank walls on the front and side elevations visible to the street.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I think the house, you never see things in elevation. You see things always obliquely. And so it would look better if the windows moved, just in the sense that it would give you a stronger, more established corner on the house, just in terms of how it would look.
I agree with Tom
And I
on
would say
that.
even in terms of marketability in that respect, but that's, neither here nor there for us. But it would look better from the corner as you approach the house if those
Only
windows
issue is
moved a
they're
little.
all narrow lots, like any of there.
Pardon me?
So they're all narrow lots, so you never really even see it. I mean, there's 15 feet between that house and the house to the right of it. So
still
unless you
see
go
that.
and you're in the driveway and looking up, it really never has a presence. So, and the same configuration was approved before, so that's what I would like to stick with.
That's okay. What else on,
The other was on the opposing elevation, so it was the other side elevation, so the same sheet you were on, which is the left elevation. The left elevation, that upstairs window, I would like to they wanted to put 2 windows up front, but there are a lot of houses that have a similar configuration historically and that were built prior to. Ones in the packet that I gave you are 3 examples. And I would like to do an accent window over the stairwell, because the stairwell is right there on that side of the house. And it would just, best looking thing would be another large diamond window, mid-stairwell, similar to what actually was approved for 2301 Wayne.
so let's just make sure we understand.
In what was submitted, or?
Well, it's obviously going to be different from this. Somehow it's going to be different. So are you proposing to put an accent window directly below that window that's furthest to the right?
To take that window out and drop an accent window down
Halfway down?
in its place, yes, sir.
And the staff recommendation was to add a window directly below the window that's shown on the elevation?
It was to move them towards the front of the house and add a window directly below it, which the window below you would be in the middle of the stairwell.
So why would you take that window out that's on the second floor?
Well, that was just a window, just to keep a normal window in there to bring light into the side of the stairwell there. So and there's not really room to put an accent window beneath that one. They would be really tight and crowded at that point.
Could you not move that window further to the right and place an accent window directly below it? You'd obviously have the room in the stair.
I could do one over the stairwell, but not directly beneath it, if that makes sense.
Well, what I'm asking is that top window top right window, could you move it further to the right and then also place an accent window directly below it?
I could do an accent window, but I could not do a full-size window as staff recommended and wanted. So I
Why
could
was
do a
that again?
smaller-
Why can't you do that there where the big,
Excuse me?
why can't you put it there?
There's a landing with the stair.
But,
So the stair has a small set of stairs and comes up, and there's a landing, and then it turns and goes up the side of the house.
so let me ask one step at a time. The first thing is, the top right window, could you move it further to the right?
Yes, that window is in an
Okay,
open stair.
so you could do that.
That could be moved.
Then, could you do an accent window directly below it at some
Yes.
elevation?
An accent window I could. It would have to be a smaller accent window.
Sure.
Okay.
That would be compatible with the rise of
What
the
I'm
stair.
asking is to do it exactly how it was approved on 2301, which is replacing that window with a
Well, it's
diamond
not
window.
it's not the same, I mean, it's just not the same drawings.
Well,
Not the same.
if,
So I'm just asking if you would be willing to, it's just not the same.
well,
So-
that window before was moved up for closer to the front of the house and over the stairwell, and that took care of the
Well,
issue.
you've shown this, the only thing I'm suggesting is that you include an additional small accent window. If
Yes.
you can
I
do
would
the two
prefer to do
things,
The other.
can you do the two things but you could do this, you could move that window to the right, drop an accent window, like the diamond window, directly below it,
I
along
feel
with.
like I'm doing a lot of giving for a lot more expense as well, whenever the same exact window configuration up a side stairwell with an accent diamond window has been approved multiple times before.
Well, we're
With
talking
a-
through this, but I don't, the only thing that we would be asking is that you add an accent window.
Yes, look at 2214 Wayne,
I see.
and that is a very similar configuration to what it would be there. That house was approved. There are multiple ones in the
Well,
neighborhood.
we're not under any
And at
obligation to.
2225, it's the same. So,
The facade's different, so,
yes. But the placement and orientation of the window and the expanse of the actual facade of the house.
It's tricky. We can't be cherry picking pieces. I think trying to help you work through this,
Yeah,
because there's parts of it we're not, we're in agreement with staff. I think trying to find some common ground.
okay. My only issue is the fact that you take that same, nothing can be replicate. The guidelines do not state that things have to be directly replicated for what's there and in the neighborhood. It's to take a presence of what is there. What I'm
so,
proposing would be,
I don't mean to interrupt, but let me get this straight. Are you saying that you're not willing to do what I was just asking or proposing?
I'm saying I would prefer to do a diamond over mid portion of that stairwell drop down. But is that something that,
Can I make sure, were you asking to put the accent directly under the?
I was
corner?
asking to move that right window further to the front and then drop an accent window also directly below it.
Okay.
Small diamond-shaped window.
Okay.
To break up the expanse. And that would look much better on this particular facade than what you were proposing.
Well, let's keep on moving then,
Okay.
see where we end up. What was the next issue?
I believe that's it.
Um,
Main issue was, the only issue on this house was the gable over the front and then the window.
So you have no issue taking the gable off?
I mean, I don't want to, but yes, I will.
And the corbels, you're fine without the corbels?
Fine without it.
Okay.
Well, that'll save more money than the accent window will cost. Okay, so we move through those others? All right. And then you're proposing this facade?
That's correct.
And how do we identify what this is?
She has it. It's actually in the packet that's linked online, but for some reason it's not in what's provided to you guys.
Yeah, it should be in the
This
packets
one?
that y'all have.
And just in terms of a motion, we'll refer to the color rendered elevation that was in the packet.
Is there an address for this one? Or-
That was just, whenever Megan and I met, and then after that, I was sitting with the draftsman, and we were trying to deal with the floor plan to come up with a couple other window configurations, so I shot her a few options.
Okay.
And then that was the one we were closest to agreeing on.
I think you've done a great job down there, so I feel like even with these modifications, everything you built in there is going to look great anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the houses are really nice houses, but
Yeah,
neighborhood loves them, people love them, so.
yeah.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Tell me one more time why you don't want to move those windows in.
Are we able to stay with that elevation there?
I'm asking, this elevation still has the windows really close to the corner. Tell me again why you don't want to move them in a little bit.
There's no bed wall in either of the bedrooms at that point, and the exact same location off the corner was approved at 2301 Wayne Street. So,
The front,
I understand what
the
you're
front
saying
windows are, it's just because of that corner? Okay.
It would just look better if they could come in a little.
Do you want me to make a motion?
Yeah.
All right. I move that we request a certificate of design approval for 2313 Wayne Street in the Elmwood Park PUD with the following conditions: that the gable on the roof of the front porch be removed, and that the front of the porch be on a single pane, that the corbels be removed, that the left elevation, that, which one is the left elevation? This would be the bottom one here? Okay. That on the left elevation, that the top right window be moved further to the right, and that a accent window be placed directly below it to align with the stair on the interior as required. That the right elevation be per the colored rendering that was in the packet that we received that wasn't reviewed, that doesn't show up here, it's different from what's there. I think, and that the driveway be brick or concrete, and that all other details are deferred to staff. Did I get a second?
Second.
Did I get everything?
Did you use the words recommend granting the certificate of design approval? Did anybody hear? Yeah, good, okay.
Okay. Okay, does everybody think I got everything?
Yes.
Okay. And it's been seconded. Could we have a vote, please?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Harris?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Bachnight?
Yes.
Mr. Broom?
Yes.
Mr. Cohn?
Yes.
Ms. Fuller-Wilt?
Yes.
Mr. Savory?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
good evening.
I think that's the last application. Do we have any other business? It's a mystery. Do we have any other business?
No, we don't.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.